Sorry guys, I had a little bit of an emergency, but I'm just back to my desk. But if you see me randomly running away, you probably can't hear me because the volume's too loud for the music. Let me settle that. Had a little bit of an emergency with my dog. I think my dog's sick. He's just puking everywhere and just, barking and puking and then eating his own puke. Yuck. So had to spend some time chasing him around, cleaning up all that space. I already washed my hand, but I feel like I want to wash my hand again before I touch my computer. So give me 1 second, I'll be right back, chat. Alexa, set desk lamp to blue. Alexa, set desk lamp to blue. That's what you should be at, not like white. All right, I'm back. How's everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of your boy TraderPrad show. I had to burp there all of a sudden for some reason. But hopefully you guys are having a wonderful weekend wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is time to get ready for tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. The markets are going live again tomorrow, as you know it. Monday markets are hot again. I see Dieter is having a great weekend right now, having some sort of a fire with his neighbors. I guess it's pretty good weather. It's honestly not bad of a weather. It's like what? It's almost positive, but not really feels like positive. But it's decent weather here in Toronto, so a good time to probably bust out a fire, a barbecue. Not sure when we'll get weather like this again for another couple months or so. Obviously, we're still in winter over here in Canada, and most of America too, obviously. But yeah, man, enjoy it, Dieter. Enjoy it. Anyone else having a fun time with their family? Let me know what you're doing. Let me know what you guys are cooking. Any fun events that you're doing? I would love to find out what you guys are doing on this weekend. But as you guys see, my weekend is pretty much busy taking care of my dog, and my mom's a little sick too. So I was just taking care of my mom. Not really taking care of her because she's taking care of herself, but just kind of making sure that she's fine. So that was all my weekend. Playing some games, looking at some charts, watching some movies. I saw the Willy Wonka movie. It felt like a waste of my time. The Willy Wonka movie, I'll be honest, you guys know me as the hater for everything, but no, here's my problem with the Willy Wonka movie. It just felt like they were paying a little bit too much homage to the original Willy Wonka a little bit with how the theme of everything is. I guess it makes sense. That's the Willy Wonka theme or whatever. But the other side, the storyline just wasn't that exciting. The storyline was just meh, whatever. The original storyline had a lot of like lessons and meaning, and when you were a kid and you were watching that, you were watching it because people were turning into a blueberry or a lemon or whatever it is. But then when you watch it when you get older, you kind of understand the lessons behind all of the characters over there in the Willy Wonka movie. But in this one, it was just a storyline. It was just a boring storyline, in my opinion. No real lessons being taught to kids, and that was my beef with this new Willy Wonka movie. Timothée Chalamet though did amazing as an actor. I enjoyed that. What was the second movie that I watched? I think I watched another movie that I can't even remember. That's how boring it was. Probably. Oh, the Aquaman. Yeah, the Aquaman movie sucked. That one absolutely sucked. I loved the parts where Amber Heard was in the movie, and I felt like they purposefully cut her scenes from the movie after everything that took place with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I found that funny because every time she would show up in the movie, her scene would just be like a 30-second brief clip, and then boom, she's gone. She's no longer in the frame. And I felt like that's 100% because of whatever happened with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation. But those were the two movies I saw. Both of them pretty big waste of my time. Played a bunch of Tarkov and then started looking at the market in between movies and in between Tarkov. So that was basically all I did. Let's talk about the market now. So the market this week, ladies and gentlemen, obviously very, very hot week coming up for the market. The tech sector, which has been on a ramp as so far, on fire. QQQ has been monstrous. We already had Netflix and Tesla come out with their earnings report. Netflix kind of to the north side, Tesla to the downside. Starting from Tuesday, we do have some big names coming out with earnings reports. So we'll talk about some of those names reporting. We'll plan for the stocks that are reporting tomorrow, and then we'll look at some of the stocks that have already reported, and then some of the big tech stocks to see if what type of trading opportunities show up for us tomorrow. So that's the game plan over here for the watch list, and then we'll watch an SMB Capital video that we were planning to watch on Thursday, but did not have enough time to watch that one. So we'll watch that one today and see if that one will help us grow by 1% as always. That's the goal. And I think I have figured out a nice little name for this community now. I think Dieter and I were having fun at the end of last Thursday's stream, where at the end of the stream I was playing the Rick and Morty Goodbye Moonmen. I said if I don't get copy strike for using that song, then I will gladly kind of use that song as my outro every day. So I think we're gonna call this community Moon Men. So you guys are all the Moon Men or Moon Women, whatever you want to be. And that's how we're gonna go through this community. So welcome Moon Men and Women. Hopefully you guys are all settled in. Josh Bill's coming in saying Chiefs. Ooh, Chiefs, did they win? Let me go quickly check. I actually did not watch any games at all, mainly because I quit sports betting completely, and I don't want to watch any sports at the moment because that will make me want to sports bet. So, yeah, I didn't even look at the score. Chiefs 17, Ravens 10. Wow. Okay, Chiefs 17, Ravens 10. What's the stats going on? 241, 30 out of 39 attempts. That's not bad at all. Only 9 missed attempts. Okay. Isaiah with 68 yards. Patrick 17. Travis, 1 touchdown. Isaiah, 1 touchdown. Who else got a touchdown? Is that it? Is that a TD? That's not a TD. That's an interception. Damn, they got an interception. Okay. No TDs, no TDs. So only 2 TDs for these guys. Isaiah and Travis, and clearly these guys only have 1 TD. Let's go check out who that is. Zay Flowers, 115. Zay 272, 20 out of 37. Yikes, that is horrible. 20 out of 37 compared to 30 out of 39, a whole 10 attempts better. That's crazy. Yeah, I guess the game's over, huh? The game's over. Chiefs win the NFL Conference Championship. Was it AFL or NFL? I think it's NFL. And then these guys are fighting for the AFL. I don't really know how the conferences work at all. But yeah, shout out to these guys. And now the Lions and the 49ers playing in half an hour. Cash McCaffrey. Let's see if that boy is cash for you guys. Victory formation. It's all over. Man, I'm going to hate it if people see Chiefs win it and they're going to be like, or at least a woman who are Taylor Swift fans are gonna be like, oh my god, it's because Taylor Swift was there, they had this extra motivation and they ended up winning again. Like, shut up. I'm gonna hate it if they start saying it's because of his Taylor Swift. Like, that's gonna be the most annoying thing ever if that happens. But I'm just gonna have to prepare for it. Brace for impact. She almost ruined it for me. I know, right? She ruined it for a lot of people. Especially those stupid dances that her and Mahomes' wife does, who apparently half the league and half the Kansas City Chiefs hate. They just hate Mahomes' wife, and now they're going to hate Travis Kelce's girlfriend too. That's crazy. 2 of the best players in the team have the most hated spouses. Well, I guess Taylor Swift not a spouse, but have the most hated other halves. Okay. Anyways, let's get to the market, ladies and gentlemen. This over here is obviously the watch list of last week. Sorry, not watch list. The earnings board of last week. United Airlines all the way to American Express. This bad boy over here is of this week. SoFi, is the only one of interest for me tomorrow pre-market. Everything that's coming out in after hours tomorrow, and then the pre-market tomorrow, we'll talk about it tomorrow at 8 o'clock, obviously. So just to show you what's on store for tomorrow and then what's on store going forward. Microsoft, AMD, Alphabet all coming out Tuesday night. Boeing Wednesday morning. Qualcomm Wednesday night. RCL, Peloton coming out Thursday morning. Apple, Amazon, Meta coming out Thursday night. And then we got a bunch of oil companies, Oxy, Chevron. I don't think Oxy actually, but Chevron and XOM coming out on Friday morning. Usually nothing really reports Friday after hours. So a bunch of stocks over here. As you guys can see, obviously the earnings board is very, very, very active starting now. And we have had a pretty active earnings board last week too. This is kind of week 1 in my opinion. This was kind of week 2. A couple of the stocks that took off last week were COF. I'm trying to find where COF even is. There you go. Capital One absolutely launched off to the north side off the open. We're going to take a look at that for tomorrow. Maybe a little bit of Intel, American Airlines, Tesla, Netflix, 3M, UAL. So some of the stocks from this week over here have been imported or port forwarded, for those of you my gamers over there, has been basically put onto the watch list for tomorrow. And we'll talk about all of these stocks, starting with number 1 on the list, SoFi. SoFi has been, beat down quite a bit after every earnings report. They pop up and they get beat right back down. They pop up and they get beat right back down. So for me to expect anything different to really happen on SoFi over here will be definition of insanity, right? You're seeing something repeat again, and you're expecting something different. You're insane. But that being said, let's see what happens over here with SoFi tomorrow, who actually has the earnings call at 8 o'clock. I'm seeing it on my watch list over here to my left side. Ooh, let me put it back up. I'm seeing it on the watch list over here at 8 o'clock that I have an alert for. They report at 7. They have an earnings call at 8. So 8 o'clock in the morning, we should see a little bit of a more extended move off the 7 o'clock earnings report. And then everything is basically up to the market gods to see what direction they move it in. Will SoFi move to the upside? Will SoFi move to the north side? And all that fun stuff. We got some questions here in the chat. Kangaroo asking, did you leave Trader TV? No, I got fired. Victory formation, it's over. I already read that. Did Sean get you kicked out of Trader TV? I don't know if it was Sean, but it was more Brendan. It was more Brendan and the guy who basically gives paychecks to everybody at Trader TV. Basically gives paychecks to Sean, Brendan, and everyone else. It was, I think they both kind of wanted me out of there, I guess. It is what it is. No hard feelings. No hard feelings to anyone over there. I got what I wanted from them. They got what they wanted from me. They used me. I used them. It's just how business works, right? It's just how business works. No hard feelings. You move forward. But coming back to where we are over here on SoFi, just see how many lines I have, and you can see how choppy the stock is for the last 1, 2, 3 earnings seasons, basically 1 full year over here almost. We're almost coming back to the last earnings period, and we're still in that same range, right? The last 2023 January earnings call, we're exactly right back into that price. And then you see what happened later on, going into 10 o'clock, going into $10, going into $8, and still struggling around these prices. So I'll be expecting a little bit of a repetition of somewhat of these plays. The stock's ATR is only 43 cents, so there is a great chance that we see some resistances pop up into the stock, into the north side of the move. And then on the north side of move, and any good little curl or a clear indication of selling showing up on the level 2 or the time of sales will allow us to look for the short. It's the same thing also for the downside move. The stock is flushing to the downside big time on a negative earnings report, possibly could look for longs. You can see how the last earnings report was a negative earnings report. The stock actually didn't do anything that day, and then later on eventually started gapping up to the north side. So it will be a little bit of interesting debate over here to see what SoFi does in pre-market off their earnings report. At the moment, nothing really that I have to do with the stock over here. I just have to wait patiently, see what happens in pre-market. Love you for your honesty, man. You always had fire energy. No problem, brother. You know I got you. I got no reason to lie to people. They do. I don't. I got no reason to lie to people. Talking about lying and not lying to people, let's see what happens on AXP. Am I a liar when I call out this level on AXP, or am I not a liar? Will be the main question tomorrow. Let me delete these two trend lines that I have over there. American Express brought in tons of volume and actually took out that significant all-time high area of 199.55, so all-time high being taken out, and the stock actually managed to find some buyers above 200 later on in the day. I'm trying to go over the 5-minute chart and I'm failing because I still have that brain fog of the weekend brain fog still stuck in my head. But as you guys can see right here on the chart, how the stock has managed to bounce right off of that previous all-time high around that 199.50 after making the initial run up to the north side. So this was the initial run up to the north side. Actually, I can even do this for you guys. Let me open up my trades from Friday, not Thursday, sorry. My trades from Friday and show you how I traded. Come on, let me open it. Stop being annoying. Okay. View original. Nice, there you go, view original. Here's my trade on American Express on Friday. So you can see how American Express ramped up off the open, kind of pulled back right above the 200, but technically it was around 201.88 was this low, I believe, if my memory serves me correct. This cap is giving me brain damage because it's way too tight. Jesus Christ. There we go. Brain was giving me brain damage. I was getting CTE from this goddamn cap. My hair is just a mess. That's why, guys. I told you guys I'd get a haircut. I still haven't gotten a haircut. I've just been lazy. But okay, coming back to American Express, it was holding this nice little range from 203 to 201 and just ranging in there after making the initial pop. So I figured, okay, if we do get a buy coming in and it ranges above right below this area, maybe there's actually a breakout of this 203, but instead of taking an aggressive breakout entry, I want to look for a passive entry. So I throw an order in this first little pullback consolidation low. I get filled on that consolidation low. Later the stock does pull back lower. My stop is under 201 anyway, so I don't really have to worry about it. It doesn't go back to my stop and instead curls into a higher spot, so I take another entry. I look for my exit into the high of day, first little exit into high of day, and the last few shares I'm basically exiting at the break even over here in a way, because if you look at it, this one is profit, this one is profit, but if you look at it this way, this and this are pretty much in the same spot, so it's kind of break even, and this is the only profit that I have on this full trade over here on American Express. Later on in the day, it pulls back to VWAP slightly above 200 and finds some base over there right above 200, so I get long and I risk it, but I'm seeing the stock finding selling right into that 201 area, so I punch out. And then much later in the day, after bouncing off of that previous all-time high 199.55, I get long again, but I had to go to a meeting with my manager, so I just punched out of this trade. I'm not blaming my manager for this. I'm just saying that I just punched out of this trade. I said, you know what, let me go to my meeting. I don't want to come back and see the stock all the way down over here and look like an absolute idiot, but instead I look like an idiot by not setting my stop and having the stock not go to my profits, which I was looking for, which is that 202 203 area. It did give it to me, I just didn't manage to hold it later on. So American Express, looking forward to see if the stock can show us more buying into this previous all-time high area of 199.55 to 200. In my opinion, it's a little bit of a range. You can see how we closed at basically 201.43. The stock's the day's VWAP or even the earnings VWAP is at 264. In my opinion, you could find some support at 264, 200, all the way to 199.55. So basically give it a whole dollar range from the earnings VWAP and the previous all-time high area of 199.50 to look for supports to get built into. Once you see a little bit of a downwards move, a little bit of buying like this action over here coming back in front of 199.50 or 200, then we can get long for a move back into earnings day high of 205 or maybe even more. Clearly the stock has made a all-time high now on somewhat of a mixed earnings report, a little bit of a negative earnings report on the numbers, but I guess the guidance and everything else was good enough for the market makers and for the bulls to load up on American Express on the breakout to all-time high. So if they are going to look to continue this rally towards another all-time high coming in on the stock, then I would like to join that party. The stock's ATR is $3.91. It did do a lot more than $3.91 91 cents on earnings day. That's normal, but I'm not expecting this to do a lot more than that tomorrow, right? Expecting a little bit of a $4 move, a little bit of a $3 move from wherever it opens. So basically I want to look for pullbacks into that 199.50 area on AXP. The next stock that was pretty interesting to keep an eye out for was Intel right off the open. Beautiful short on this one. I can show you my trade on this one too, actually. Let me pull up Intel right off the open, got filled on the short, and then instantly got out. It was just a hit and run for me because, you know, Intel doesn't really do that much of a range intraday. It's a $1.76 ATR, and you can see how you know, its intraday range for the earnings day itself wasn't that big. It was just stuck between two of the boxes that we have drawn out over here on Intel. If I can kind of zoom back, you can see how this range and this range high and this range low was basically that whole day's range. So I don't really expect too much from Intel coming in. There could be some slow trickling down action over the longer time period that's for the swing term traders, but for a day trade, I didn't really expect too much coming in for myself. So I just quickly took that scalp, got out, hit and run from that trade, and it was a nice little padding to the PNL. I'm just changing my indicators over here because I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. And then let me just drag some of my lines down. That goes there, that goes there. So now you can see how that box is clearly pretty significant from previous earnings report. We kind of break out, we consolidated a little bit, we break down, we pop back, we consolidate, and we pop up. So you want to see this area either hold or not hold. So if that 43 area cannot hold, then we got another range to the downside near 41. If the 41 fails to hold, then we got more downside over here on Intel. But at the moment, for intraday, I think there's a great chance for the stock to just kind of break 43, trickle down to 41, and do exactly what it did on Friday, which is just trade between 43 to 41 in my opinion. So those will be my two ranges over here that I'm watching. Today's support, however, the first level of support, or S1, will be 43 because we're still above 43. But in pre-market, if the stock is already under 43, then you're kind of looking at 41. So I'm going to put 41 also in my notes. I'm not really thinking the stock goes back to 45.50, but because of, you know, the high of today, or sorry, Friday was 45.50, I'll just put resistance over there. And then the next resistance I'll put will probably be, I'll leave 45.50 for now, but based on how the stock trades in pre-market, I might just have to put 41 support and 43 resistance because I'm expecting the stock to gap down in pre-market. Keep in mind, the stock is on SSR. That means it's going to be harder to short the stock on the way down. You have to wait when the stock ticks higher for you to be picked up on the offers to get short. So do remember that, as it will be SSR. Intel, ladies and gentlemen, pretty high of importance along with American Express. So both of these stocks will be colored in, for those of you wondering what I'm doing, both of these stocks will just be colored in orange for me. Any stock colored in orange compared to any stock colored in, let's say, maybe like IBM, I'm just gonna do it for fun, it's gonna be colored in blue. Oh, you guys can't even see it, you guys can barely see it, colored in blue, because that means it's not as important as the orange one, but it's a little bit important than the default black and gray background that we have. So that's the way I work with my color schemes over here. And then they do change in pre-market. The importance of stocks always change for me based on how the stock moves in pre-market. If they have volume pre-market, if another random stock is doing something way more fun in pre-market, I could just abandon my whole watch list and kind of go to that stock, make a plan for that stock, and trade that stock too, right? So do keep in mind that you have to be able to be flexible when it comes to your trading plans. If you're just very too rigid and just, you know, I made this plan yesterday, I'm just gonna trade this one plan, you might just not have a trade the whole day, and which is fine. Not having a trade the whole day is fine, as long as you are sticking to your plan, and, you know, just look for your trade the next day or somewhere else. And when you find your trade, you push the triggers and you deal with the consequences after. Just don't FOMO into a stock if without a plan or whatever. The next stock on the watch list over here, ladies and gentlemen, is COF. COF is a little crazy what happened on Friday right off the open, but then it just died off the whole day later on. So I'm wondering to see, I'll be interested to see what happens on COF tomorrow. Let me just quickly put it in over here, that earnings anchored VWAP. Let me put in a couple more for myself real quick. Okay. You guys like my beatbox? Stop. So COF, obviously, is it all-time high is the question. No, not all-time high, but clearly new 52-week high coming into play, taking out the previous 52-week high right here around that 134 area, going all the way into 140. So I'm not, it's a negative earnings report. Let's start with that. Well, I guess mixed earnings report. Let's start with that. Market sucked that earnings report up. They gapped down, and then they just launched off in the pre-market and then ripped off even more in pre-market right off the open. So the question was, what in the world is the stock doing in this area if the earnings report was in line / mixed / flat? Maybe the market just loved what they had in guidance and so on. So looking for a little bit of a pullback into this 134.50, 135, maybe see some buying coming in over there, and then some sort of a continuation. The stock does have an ATR of $3 and a volume of average volume of 2.85 million. Maybe the volume does die down tomorrow because after earnings days the volume usually does die right back down. So expecting the volume to go back to 3 million or 4 million or so. And if that's the case, then the ATR could go lower too. Not really expecting a full $3 move intraday, but let's see what happens. A pullback into 135, show some support above 134.50, above 135. That could be a little bit of a bullish indication for us to take back into this 140 area, and then a swing trade of maybe above 140 or so. But we're not swing traders, we're just day traders. So I'm putting in support 135 over here. COF as an importance is not really that high important for me, so we'll see what happens over here for tomorrow. Pre-market, if you're active in pre-market COF, then maybe you can get bumped up on the importance scale. Okay, we'll watch the rest of the stream later. Good night. Goodbye, Moonman, says Dieter. Goodbye, brother. Go have some fun with your family and friends over there. I will see you later. I hope maybe Monday in Discord. I'll see you Monday in Discord tomorrow. All right. A COF needs to show me some sort of activity in pre-market. If not, then it's probably a stock that we're waiting for later on in the day, maybe 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, when it pulls back to some of the prices that we're interested in, or if it starts trading around 140 right off the open and looks like it's about to break out of 140, maybe we can have an eye on the stock. But for now, its importance is pretty low for me. Let's go to the next stock, AAPL, American Airlines. What a monster move on American Airlines off of this earnings report over here. Finally breaking past that resistance of 1465. The second day of earnings move was a little bit nice in my opinion too, lack of a better word. It was a pretty decent move over here to the north side, taking out the earnings day high, but kind of coming back and closing right below in the earnings day ranges. So showing you that there is support above 15, that's positive. Showing you that people are willing to buy up that 15 range, which is good. So you want to see that coming back into play. But if the stock is under 15, then I don't really know if the stock is bullish for that day, because it could easily pull back to this 1465 area and then bounce off of 1465 and then go back into 15, at which point I think the stock is basically ranging between 15 and 1465 for at least that day, because its ATR is basically a 50 cent, 60 cent ATR on American Airlines. So watching how American Airlines moves tomorrow, in my opinion, needs to hold 15. If 15 does not hold, then the stock is probably ranging between 1465 and 15 for all day tomorrow. Let's go to the next airliner. American Airline is actually going into the blue color for us. That's the first blue color trade. And if the stock is above 15, then it probably gets upgraded from blue to a little bit of an orange color trade. But let's go to American Airlines, which I feel like will be a little bit of an important stock, because this is doing what is exactly what AAL did recently, pulling into that resistance, that nice triple top, double top, whatever you want to call it. Currently, it's a little bit of a head and shoulders, right? It's a head, left shoulder, right shoulder forming right now. So you want to see, I think, a pullback and a breakout at that point where the stock rips up to the north side. But right now we have a little bit of an interest on this 44.50 area on UAL. So until that price point comes in, I'm not really too interested to make any decisions on this stock. Let that stock push into 44.50, show me some resistance or show me a breakout of this area. This stock has a little bit of a higher ATR than American Airlines. This one moves $1.60, about a whole dollar above American Airlines move. So we could expect some fun with this stock tomorrow. But if it's not tomorrow, meaning it goes to the downside tomorrow or just has a little bit of an inside day, muted day, it's also not its earnings day 2. It's kind of its earnings day 5, day 6 or something, right? So there is no real earnings day 5, day 6 setup. That doesn't exist. But if there is any sort of a reason to trade the stock around this 44.50 area, we'll be interested to see what happens on UAL. So I'll put it on my blue color watch list. But if this one doesn't go to any of these levels, I'm just gonna degrade it to white color stock and pre-market. Now, the more fun stocks start to show up on the watch list, the ones that actually move around. Tesla, ladies and gentlemen. Tesla, obviously, off the earnings report, flushed into the downside. We saw what happened with that one. The next day, it didn't really test 180 at all. We got a little bit of a report on the day of earnings that I think Aunt Kathy bought. Let me go find out exactly how many shares. Look at that handsome guy. Sheesh. Oh, look at that handsome guy. Sheesh. There we go. And Kathy bought 177,000 shares, or let's say 178,000 shares of Tesla today after the stock's worst one-day decline since 2020, loading up on the position, basically showing that she is supporting around this 180 area, probably all the way from this previous earnings support all the way down to 180. We know how she loves to just buy stocks when they're dying, right? You can see how the stock was in a little bit of a pennant. Is this a pennant? Give me a second, chat. I'm gonna open up something for ourselves here. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There you are. Open in a new window. Move tab to a new window. There you go. Symmetrical triangle. Oh, that's a pennant. What's a pennant and what's a symmetrical? When you can connect these two, but when you don't connect those two, it's a pennant. Okay, so this is basically a pennant, right? If the line started somewhere here, that would be a symmetrical triangle. But this is basically a pennant and a symmetrical triangle in the same way because you... Nah, this is a pennant. I mean, call it what you want. Potato. The point is, we're looking for a breakout. The breakout happened, and now Aunt Kathy is still buying. Technically, according to technical patterns, the stock is supposed to continue plummeting to the downside. The next support somewhere into 150 or so. Let me just throw that line right there. Default is what I want you at. Default green. You are also a point of interest for me. Let me put a line there, 163. So it looks like the stock could easily go all the way back into this 164 and this 152 areas if it breaks 180. So that's the level that we are still keeping an eye out for. The stock has finished its SSR day 1, which was on the day of earnings, SSR day 2, which was on Friday. So tomorrow it will not be on SSR. That means it could bring in a lot more selling tomorrow as short sellers start piling into this position on any sort of a failure to catch attraction to the north side. If 180 does not show buying, a short through 180 would be home run, baby. So I would love to look for that opportunity. Please, God, don't give me a 180 break in pre-market. Please, that's all I pray for. I'm praying that 180 does not break in pre-market. I'm praying that 180 kind of like sets up before pre-market for us to short it and the stock goes to the downside. Or there's another side of the coin here, right? You can't just be looking at one side of the trade idea this whole time. You got to flip the coin enough times to see that you can land on both sides, right? Heads and tails. So let's look at the other side of the coin now and see what type of trade setup could set up off 180 for the long side. If there's a big enough bid, if the stock goes into 180 and there's like millions of size just sitting there on the bid, or millions of of dollars just sitting there waiting to buy a basically Aunt Kathy willing to buy more size, then you want to possibly look for the long off of that area. If you're seeing buying come off, if you're seeing the stock not even push into 180 and hold somewhere into yesterday's lows of 182, it's bouncing off of 182 cleanly, you can possibly think about going long. But in my opinion, the 182 needs to hold like without a problem. Like, it needs to hold without a problem, and by that I mean it needs to either go down to 180 and just bounce right off of 180 and start holding 183, 184, 185, or it needs to go into 182 and just start holding 182 for like at least an hour, just did not break 182 at all, and then rips past 182 to the north side, burning all the shorts who are kind of building shorts into 182 for the move into 180, which never really comes in. And when that move doesn't come in, they're punching out for losses, and when they're punching out for losses, you're getting that pop to the north side. In that pop to the north side, you're getting some new longs punching in, so all that extra excitement creates that move that we're looking for the long side. But for that, you want to see traps happening. You want to see shorts getting trapped, right? So once the shorts are getting trapped, then we can look for the long. But at the moment, with how the earnings report played out, with how the stock moved to the downside, clearly breaking this chart pattern, technical pattern, we're looking for an extension below 180. So 180 is the key level tomorrow, in my opinion. So that's the only level that we're watching. In pre-market, if the stock is well above 180 because QQQ is on some sort of a ramp to the north side, QQQ is on a war path to the north side, then we can't really do anything about it at that point, because Tesla could just follow the market. Usually Tesla does whatever it wants, but there are times where Tesla could move pretty easily with the market. I'm just taking a look over here as to what the economic calendar is. I'm also going to put it in our Discord server. For those of you who are not in our Discord server, do ! Discord in the chat, and you will be you'll get the link to the Discord server, where we have fun every single day talking about the stock market, talking about all things moving, our trade ideas. People kind of call out what stocks they're looking, or the futures levels they're looking at. So make sure you join our wonderful, amazing community in there. And right now in the economic calendar group, I posted this. So as you guys can see, clearly nothing really happening for the economic calendar tomorrow. So it is very much possible the market just has another boring intraday tomorrow in the north side, right? I mean, not that Friday was an intraday. Yeah, it was. Friday was an inside day. Sorry, inside day. Friday didn't really do too much. Inside day. Wah, wah, wah. So this could be an inside day. I mean, it is possible that the market is currently gearing and setting up for the big text to report. We got what? Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, AMD, Qualcomm, some of the biggest names out there in the world reporting this week. So I think that's very easily to think that the market is kind of waiting for these guys. Let's quickly go see what the CME tool is also saying. The Chicago Mercantile tool, or is it mercantile or merchantile? I don't know what it is. Oh, there you go. That's the one that I'm looking for. We got FOMC coming up in 3 days. In T-3 days, FOMC coming up. They're expecting to hold the current interest rate decision to be expected to be held at the same rates and not really be decreased just yet. Only a 3.1% chance, a probability of cutting the interest rates instead of holding the interest rates, which is currently at a 96.9%. The what's it called? The JP Morgan or the Goldman Sachs analyst called out that they're expecting 6 rate cuts this year. They're expecting 6 rate cuts this year. It's not Discord. Discord. ! Discord. Crater TV ain't the same without him. Thank you. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the love. But we're on a different mission, baby. Different mission. We don't need them anymore. We were talking about the interest rate cuts and the interest rate decisions, which is what's coming up. The FOMC dates, basically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 days. 8 days in a year are the days where they can decide to cut or hike rates. JP Morgan is expecting 6 Think about that. Think about that. There's 8 days, 8 rate decisions, and JP Morgan is expecting 6 cuts this year. Or it could be Morgan Stanley, could be Goldman Sachs, I forget who it was. One of the big banks is expecting 6 rate cuts this year. If the first rate cut of this year is already going to be a pause, that's a little bearish, right? I guess it's not as bearish as I'm thinking it could be. But if they say in this meeting on the 31st that we are actually not going to cut for longer, that's the bearish sentiment, right? If they say instead of 5 cuts, we're going with, sorry, instead of 6 cuts, we're going to go with 5 cuts or 4 cuts, we need to see inflation a little bit better. We need to see interest rates higher a little bit longer, which is what some of the Fed committees have already expressed their fear about. So all that information kind of comes into play over here. It could hurt some of these big tech stocks, even if their reports come out banger. This information on Wednesday could kind of make or break some of the fun that we've been having on the tech market. So this 31st of January is a pretty important date in my opinion. We got to keep this one on the watch list. Earnings obviously are a big catalyst for this week, but 31st of February, 31st of January is one of the most important days of this year, because if the Fed committee goes, we are actually only thinking about 4 interest cuts, that's 2 minus what the banks are thinking, and the banks are always betting before they post their reports, right? They put the money first, they make the bet, and then they post a report so everybody else can boost up their valuation a little bit by buying behind them or shorting behind them. If the Fed or if the banks are thinking 6 cuts and the Fed is only saying 4 cuts, then the bank's probably going to cut some of their weightages and their portfolios a little bit, right? So you got to be ready for some sort of a downwards move on some sort of a hawkish sentiment coming from the FOMC committee in terms of the interest rates. If it's bullish, if they say 6, that's even better, right? If they say 6, that's even better. But you got to understand we're already 1 minus 8. So there's 7 interest rate decisions. And if they don't cut this one, they have to basically cut almost every single interest rate decision after that, which is going to move the market to the north side crazily. So this call on the 31st, that's 2 o'clock date on the 31st, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is going to be a big decision for the market. You need to be very ready for Wednesday, 2 o'clock EST, New York time on the 31st. Now, going back to our watch list, we already talked about Tesla. Let's quickly show you Netflix. NFLX, another monster move on Netflix, right? Almost 600 coming into play. Not really the all-time high, but you can see how this 1, 2, triple top, I guess you can call it, kind of coming into play right now on NFLX, on its way into all-time highs. Not really that far out from all-time highs. So we'll watch out how NFLX can play. At the moment, this is the one stock that's been a little crazier in my opinion when it comes to earnings moves. Usually when you see a stock make such a big move, you see it basically do what it did right here, inside day trade, and then another little inside day trade in the higher end of the range and then breakout. But this little breakout is crazy. I'm expecting another nice little inside day trade somewhere between the high of the Friday and between the close of the Friday. So the close of the Friday was 570.42 and the high of Friday was 560. So basically 570 to 560. I'm looking for a nice inside day between those two ranges. And if you are wondering why I'm saying that, look at this one over here, right? This was the close of the day, that was the high day, that's the earnings day itself. So earnings day, close of the day, high of the day, the stock basically had an inside day between that. Next day broke out, and I'm expecting another nice little inside day between 570 and 560, and then the next day it could break out if it wants to, and that would be the day that the stocks should kind of move, with the big tech coming out with their earnings report. Tomorrow we don't really have any big tech reporting earnings, so nothing really over there to prepare for. SoFi is the only stock that's kind of importance to me, so we'll see how SoFi comes out. Unless any other stock in pre-market, Ben Franklin or whatever, kind of starts moving in pre-market, then maybe we can take a look at that one then. NFLX, however, we're looking for a range between 570, did I say, chat? Can you remind me? Yeah, I said 570 to 580. I forgot already. NFLX, we'll put this one on the orange color. IBM. This one's a little bit of a boomer stock, but it did not move like a boomer on earnings day. Earnings day was a monster move on this position. I think I tried to look for some opportunities. I actually can't forget if I found any opportunities or not, but it was a monster move on earnings day for this stock. Let's see if we can find any trades for tomorrow. So earnings day popping up, pulling back. Oh, on this day I actually traded it on Friday. I had a good long from this area low after it consolidated in this nice little purple box. That area low, I punched long with the low over there. Diter actually took this long with me too, right into VWAP. But when that sell candle started coming in, I didn't like that and I closed it in that move. And then on the break of this range, I flipped short. But then the new IPO started going public, so I covered it somewhere into the break even. I think basically I went short here, I covered it over here, started looking at the IPO instead, when the IPO was garbage, absolute doggy poo poo, dog caca, garbage IPO, my god. But IBM, interesting over here because I thought it would hold between this 190 to 185 area. If anyone wondering why that 190 to 195 area is highlighted, it is this little consolidation high on the monthly chart, which is around April 2014. So we haven't been into this area for a long time on IBM. Last time we traded into these prices was April 2014, almost 10 years ago, a decade ago. Coming back into these prices after a decade for IBM, I felt like it would be a little interesting. And you can see how that 185, 187.50 actually came into play on the second day of earnings. That's where we got long, 187.55, whatever that low is. Yeah, 187.55. Got long off of that nice little bottom. I can kind of delete this bad boy here. We don't need that one anymore. A beautiful long in, and then eventually gave you a breakdown off that level too. So you can see how significant levels from the past come into play all the time. As a failure of this area has been established now on IBM for the temporary period, I cannot expect all-time high coming into play. So for that, we just have to kind of look for buyers to show up on IBM, maybe into the earnings day low, which was around 180, pull back into 180, show some support, or even get back above 187.50, show some support for a move into 190. At the time period, I think I'm not really too interested to make any trades on IBM unless IBM can kind of get back above 190 and show support above 190. And for that, we have quite a bit of a time for the stock to do something like that. So we'll just leave this one alone because I think it'll be more fun when it gets into that 200-day time period. IBM, however, has been having a little bit of an increase in its ATR from what I have been noticing. I think that's purely because of how big of a intraday range that it had on earnings day, and on the second day the stock usually does not have that big of an ATR move. Look at the stock's ATR, right? Fuck you move, fuck you move, fuck you move, fuck you move, and then a big fuck you move. These are all little fuck you moves, and you get a big fuck you dude type of move over there to the north side. The stock usually doesn't do that type of craziness, and you can expect the stock to really quickly down on volume. Look at that volume on earnings day, 20 million, and then we're right back into the average volume of 9.5, whatever, boring. So can't really expect the stock to do too much fun. I'm expecting ATR to start normalizing a little bit and start going back down also along with volume. So I'm gonna be patient for IBM, wait for the all-time high levels to come into play. Until then, just kind of keep an eye on it. Just keep an eye on it closely. 3M. I think 3M is kind of in that same boat as IBM for me. It's kind of finished its play. It went down. It's done its thing. No real excitement for me now on 3M. I'll still keep my eye on it. Don't get me wrong. I'll still keep my eye on it just in case it gives me any trade. If it brings in some volume pre-market, then we can kind of take a look at it. But in regards to the stocks that we like, for the stocks that have earnings pre-market tomorrow, let's go see where is the earnings calendar for tomorrow. Earnings calendar. Not tomorrow, sorry, last week. The earnings calendar. As for last week's stocks, the only ones that I feel are important, UAL, unless it does not, if it does not go into that price that we talked about, that 44.50, UAL is not really that important. AAL a little bit, Intel a little bit, Tesla, Netflix a lot more important, American Express a lot more important. Some of these other names over here not really that important for me tomorrow. So as you guys can see, we have our watch list already. We do have a couple other stocks in here, such as Apple, AMD, MSFT, all of which I have my levels mapped out already. Some of them are near all-time highs, such as Microsoft in a nice little range at all-time high. Its earnings day is coming up in this week. I think this week, Tuesday after hours. So I'm not really expecting Microsoft to do something crazy before its earnings come out. It's also creating a nice little range here, and if Microsoft's earnings come out banger, which we all expected to come out banger after this whole ChatGPT craziness, maybe another new all-time high and a crazy new all-time high comes into Microsoft. So watch out for that play. Google, who's also reporting this Tuesday after hours, I believe. Yep, Tuesday after hours, also into an all-time high, made an all-time high Friday, I believe. So looking for how this stock can behave for us. Nvidia, you guys already know about Nvidia. AMD reporting Tuesday after hours, which has been making new all-time highs. And the overall market, which is in all-time highs at the moment, but just making inside days into these all-time highs, except for IWM. IWM still struggling under 200. We're waiting to see how 200 can come into play for us on, I guess not tomorrow, but eventually. Can 200, 205 areas come into play eventually on IWM, which you can see is a pretty significant area. 1, 2, 3, 4 tops coming into that 200 to 205 area on IWM, which is your Russell 2000 small cap ETF. That, ladies and gentlemen, is your watch list for tomorrow. And not only a little bit of a watch list, we also gave you a little bit of a macro idea as to what we are expecting on the market over there for this week, because I don't really expect the market to move too much this week with FOMC coming up, with Microsoft, AMD, Alphabet, Amazon, Meta, Google, all of them reporting later on in this week, to most of them Tuesday, most of them Thursday. So most of them basically before FOMC and then after FOMC. So this will be a pretty interesting situation over here to see what happens with FOMC kind of boosting some of the stocks that reported already, or kind of eliminating the moves that kind of got boosted already, and then just kind of downgrading the stocks that kind of might get boosted later on, or helping the stocks that might get boosted later on based on what FOMC says. That is honestly the most important thing this week, in my opinion, besides the earnings. Besides that, I don't think you guys should focus on anything else. If you're intraday traders or swing traders, you shouldn't be focusing on anything other than the FOMC and these big name earners, because that's where the money is, ladies and gentlemen. That's where the money is. Bruh, do you not watch football? I mean, I quit sports betting, so I'm trying not to watch sports at the moment. So yeah, I mean, I am interested. What's the score? I quit sports betting, so I'm trying. No way, Lions scored a touchdown? Holy. Lions scored a touchdown. I mean, why am I hiding this? I can pull it up here. I got scared as if I'm gonna get sued by who even is this? Who even is this? And why doesn't David Montgomery have 42 yards? This guy has only 1 carry, 42 yards? Yo, okay. Buddy popped off. 1 carry, 42 yards run, and a touchdown from that. Buddy popped off. 90% of sport gamblers quit before they hit big. Yeah, shut up. Fuck you. Fund my betting account then. Here, fund my betting account by becoming a YouTube member or a Patreon member, and then I'll take that money, I'll put it. I'm not putting any more money in sports betting. I'm done. Look at this one, dude. 42-yard run touchdown. Insane. Never quit, bro. Well, I didn't retire from sports betting, don't get me wrong. I'm temporarily taking a hiatus, meaning I'm broke. My overall betting stats, you don't want to see those. I think overall I'm probably down like 5 bills over a span of 2 years. You don't want to see my stats. You're not funding my account if I show you that. All right, anyways, You guys see the fun names, man. Boeing, which has been moving recently. Their planes drop out of the sky. Their stocks drop out of the sky. That one's coming out with a report soon. 200 area coming back into play on Boeing recently. So watch out for that one. Lots of fun names, guys. We can go all day. Marathon Oil coming out. I mean, we can go all day. Juniper moved around recently, I think, on some sort of a buyout rumor. Earnings season is just so much fun. So much fun. So I'm very excited for earnings season always. And that basically is all she wrote for our watch list and everything that we wanted to talk about for the earnings. Now, we have a video over here to watch that we wanted to on Thursday. We clearly could not watch this on Thursday because we didn't have enough time, but now we do. So why don't we watch it? This video is called, well, let me give you a little bit of a preface. For those of you who don't know, this channel is SMB Capital. They are a legitimate prop firm in New York City. They fund multi-million, 7-figure, 8-figure traders. They grow traders into 7-figure, 8-figure traders. One of their most trusted advisors, Lance Breinstein. I always screw up his name. I'm just gonna call him the One Lance B. That's his Twitter, the One Lance B. Go check him out if you haven't. He posts absolute gold on Twitter for day traders, for swing traders, whatever level of trader you are, advanced, intermediate, beginner, whoever you are. You can learn a lot from Lance at any stage of your trading career. He actually shows up on SMB Capital videos quite a bit of the time. This guy over here that you're looking at, his name is Spencer. He's going to talk to us about how to catch big reversal trades. Basically, those mean reversion trades, those trades where the stocks have kind of popped up insanely to the high, maybe because of earnings, and you're looking for that mean reversion back to VWAP or some sort of a move like that, or maybe stocks that popped up crazy intraday without any catalyst and they hit their 1 ATR move, and maybe there's some sort of a mean reversion to come into this stock, and it's a nice little easy trade to catch. Obviously, I love mean reversion trading. I have switched a lot into trend trading, but I still do love mean reversion trading, and they are something I want to get better at. And hopefully this video talks about that, at least by reading the title, how to catch big reversal trades. It kind of makes me think that we're going to talk about mean reversion trading. So let's go see what Steve Spencer, who is one of the co-founders of SMB Capital, has to say about this little specific strategy. Let me also turn up the volume for this video so you guys can hear it, and turn it down in my own ear so I am not going deaf. Marco G saying he's out. Thank you for coming in. Hopefully you hit the like and subscribe for me, brother. I will catch you next time. Take care. Good night. All right, let's go check out this video, guys.
One of the most common trading patterns professional traders like to trade is a market that is short-term oversold and is gapping lower on the market open. This setup can work in a bull or bear market, but the risk is lower in a bull market, and the chance for larger reward is also in a bull market. So if you want to learn more about this trade that I took in Tesla,
we're in a bull market right now.
Stick around.
Oh, this is the old school intro. They don't do these intros no more. I missed this one. Now all the intros are just Bella coming in and talking about how he's been growing the 7-figure, 8-figure traders.
Hi, I'm Steve Spencer. I'm a partner at SMB Capital, a proprietary trading firm in Midtown Manhattan where we trade stocks, futures, and options. So the trade that I want to talk about today to you is, it's a fairly common trading pattern that is taken by professional traders, but I think it's rather uncommon for retail traders. So I thought it would be worth spending a little bit of time going through it. The name for the trade is
I just got an alert 19 minutes ago from CNBS saying stock futures fall ahead of big tech earnings and Fed meeting decision. So it looks like they are downwards already to begin with, the SPY and the QQQ, the futures at least.
Flush before the rush.
Got another alert. What's this one? The Wall Street Journal. The most important man in finance you've never heard of.
Favorite setups. It can be a short-term, quick scalp trade right on the open, but can sometimes lead actually to a swing long setup. And so, as I mentioned in the intro, it's something that works in all market conditions. Whether it will turn into a larger win and more of a intraday swing setup really depends on market conditions. And so I wanted to walk you through kind of the bigger picture coming into the trade, and then I'll drill down for you to give you ideas of kind of how I approach it and options as to how other traders might approach it as well. One of the most things important to remember is, as professional traders, for those of you who are retail traders trying to develop into consistently profitable traders, you do really need to develop your own system for how to enter into a setup and then manage the risk for that setup. And this is really because if you try to just copy what other traders do, it just doesn't work. It pretty much guarantees failure. We all have different risk tolerances in terms of where we want to get into a trade, how we can ride that trade up and manage the risk on it. And so quite often I'll tweet out a setup that I like, but you see I don't really give details about how I'm going to trade it, like, what's my stop, what's my target. Occasionally I'll respond if somebody asks me a question, but I really want, and the way that it works on SMB, which is a teaching desk, is we're training people from the beginning to learn the setups, build their playbook,
teach a man to fish
the trades
instead of fishing for him,
and manage that risk. And it takes quite a bit of time to learn it, but that's really the only way to become successful as a trader. So looking at the first chart here, big picture chart in Tesla. So the big picture in Tesla, if you haven't noticed already, is it's one of the strongest, if not the strongest stocks in the market right now.
No, it's not.
In the last month, pretty much since
this video, to be fair, is 7 months old for anyone wondering. 7 months old.
Meeting back in May, it's started to bid higher, and coming into yesterday was up probably around $100 from the 170s, from the 170s to the 270s over the last month.
But you can use the same concept in Microsoft and Google and AMD and Nvidia. Whatever we're learning here can be applied in a lot of stocks right now, right? Because we are in a big bull market. We are at all-time highs. The markets are ripping. A lot of stocks are ripping. Although this Tesla is the example being showcased, and Tesla is complete opposite right now to this, understanding the concept and being able to apply this concept on other stocks is the goal.
The setup basically was it got extended to the upside, had a downtrend day where it failed. Pre-market was up like close to 280. By the time the market opened, I think it was 275, 276, and traded all the way down to, I think, 260 maybe a couple of days ago. So this is the big picture. I also, before we want to get into the smaller time frame chart on Tesla, the market overall, so we're in a bull market right now, right? January 9th was the day. I've talked about this, tweeted this a few times since this started in January. But basically, the Qs have been in an uptrend since the second week in January. And you really have got to go, in this chart right here, I've only got it going back, I think, to April. But I've circled, recently, now we're just really in full bull mode, especially in technology. And you're just getting these little kind of 2-day selling. This is a 4-hour chart. And then it just rips higher, then sometimes goes sideways, goes up a little bit, pulls back, rips higher. And then coming into kind of the last couple of days, we had, coinciding with Tesla getting overbought and starting to pull back, we had the market pulling back as well. And just, similar today, you can already see it it bounced yesterday. And that's when the trade setup was in Tesla. It's just, we're not getting any sort of downside follow through. And, maybe we will next week before the end of the month, but honestly, it's the last week of the month, last week of the quarter. It just seems more likely that managers would be pushing more money in until the end of the quarter, and then maybe we'll get a nice rug pull at the beginning of July.
Rug pull.
The
I like the sound of that.
We're just not getting any sort of consistent rollover in the market.
Once again, this video is 7 months old.
Every once in a while, a little bit.
The big picture he's talking about QQQ, and the big picture he's talking about on Tesla is 7 months old. We're waiting for the game plan.
Pulls out of the semis and goes more into
and
Tesla.
Seeing how we can apply the game plan on overall, Nvidia, on AMD, really, on Microsoft, strong. On Google.
And so that's why this setup, when you do get the downtrend like you got, and we'll take a look at this chart right here. This is the 30-minute going back the last couple of days. We had this gap up in the pre-market to that 278 to 280 area. We opened at 275. I think the high was 276.
This basically happened a couple of days ago on Tesla itself. The stock went down 10% from prior open.
And at that point, to me,
Because of
I should
earnings,
say
obviously.
that the prior day I was buying puts, putting on bearish butterflies, doing some things for July, for
Butterfly.
after earnings, for looking for a pullback, a bigger pullback. And so when we started to move lower here on the first bar, I was short, and I just didn't want to see it get back above 272, and I was willing to trade it on the short side back to 260, 265, see if it would have a pullback. And it ended up being pretty weak, closed the day right around 260 in the after hours. So one of the most common things you've seen if you've been trading for a while, when a stock has a down day like this, where it started high, like put in a new high for the year and then closed weak, swing traders look at that as, I think they call it an island reversal or some type of
Island
Japanese
reversal.
candlestick. I'm not sure what the exact name is,
Island
but where
reversal.
it was going up into the day,
I'm an
was
island
gapping higher, then
boy.
closed at the low, maybe closed below the prior day's low or something like that. That's generally, from a swing trader's perspective, a bearish candle. And so you maybe had some people in the after hours here kind of chasing it, pushing it down. In the after hours, it dropped like $3 or $4. And I was kind of excited about that because I was thinking to myself, I think I maybe even tweeted this out, that maybe we could get, if we see more selling, I think I tweeted this, if we see more selling tomorrow, maybe we'll get a move down to 250, 252. And from my perspective, then that would be a good opportunity to play it for a bounce. And like, why would people be looking for a bounce there? The stock has just gone up $100, and it's just the nature of the market that we're in. We're in this bull ramp phase, the opposite of last year, low volatility. And so you have people looking to buy pullbacks.
We're
but the
right
other thing
there
that you have
again.
in Tesla is you have
It took
people piling
7
in on the
months
short
for
side.
us to
Probably
get
as soon
right
as it got
back
above
here. Low
240,
volatility,
probably had people
stocks are
shorting
all
above
ramping
250,
up
people probably
higher.
got more aggressive.
We're right
And then
back
by the time
here
it's up
again.
at 275, 280, people were shorting lower. They're like in panic mode. And in the next morning, if it gaps down into the 250 area, you're going to get a lot of people buying right on the open to cover some of their shorts. I know I took off a little bit of some of the puts that I had, like 15% maybe or something like that, because I still have till July expiration, mid-July, and then late July monthly expiration. And so you have people looking to buy pullback long on the stock. You have people who are getting short, over the last $20, $30 on this gap down. Let me cover some. And so that can potentially create some buy pressure. And the other thing is, like, what's the magnitude of the move? This thing trades about $10 a day. It's 280 in the pre-market here on Wednesday. Closes down at 260. Then yesterday it's gapping down to 250. That's it's around 3 ATRs, maybe a little bit less than 3 ATRs. And so that's a big enough move that you might look for that flush before the rush. And so this is what I tweeted out at 9 in the morning, right before I started the morning meeting, 30 minutes before the market opens, was, you had this run up here, you had this pullback, and then you have this gap into this area here. And, the last time it was down here, it had rolled over from like the 265, which was actually the October first gap fill from 2022. It failed there and rolled over to the high 240s and then ripped higher, made a new 2023 high. So anytime you have that situation where you're coming into 250, big whole number, nice big pullback, maybe some stops positioned just below 250, and last time it was below 250, it ripped from 240 right back up to 260, that's a spot to look for the flush before the rush. So here's what happened. Here's the next tweet that I shared after about 15, 20 minutes after the open. Right on the open, you got the flush. Never dropped to 248. Boom, popped right back up into the low 250s. And then you had the rush where it went up to 256, whatever. So that's the first 15
is something
minutes.
that could happen at the 180 on Tesla tomorrow.
I always get
could very easily happen on 180 tomorrow.
What happened? Oh my God! It's just.
For example, 180. Just ignore the numbers on the right side, right? Think of that line as the 180 line. We're right now at 182 or so. This is right around 182 pre-market. We go 181, 181, 180, 180, 180. Boom. Off the 180. We break. We go down $1 or $2. 182, 198, 197, whatever. 197, 89. Right? We go to 197, 89. We start popping back up. We're now back above 180. We're now holding 180. That's kind of where you can look to get long and risk that red candle low, or even getting long right into this area before 180 and having this as your risk low, gives you a better risk to reward, at which point if it just comes back down, you just flush it because you can already see it getting rejected from that 180. You're seeing it get bought maybe right at 190, 198 or so. You can kind of try to enter 198 risking that 197.50s lows or whatever, but you needed to see it get back into 180 and start holding above 180. If you're not seeing it hold 180 and seeing selling into 180 still, that's probably where you try to take out some of your position and then try to move your stop up, or just get out your trade completely if 180 is not holding. But technically you want to see the stock get above 180, holding above 180, looking for a spot to add into that position, and then you can look for it to continue riding back up as it reclaims the earnings day low, or even Friday's low, which is what, 182, reclaims Friday's low and then starts holding Friday's low also after holding 180. Another spot to add. Tesla's ATR is 923, let's say $10. So giving you a nice little $10 move from, let's say, 198 takes you all the way back to what, 208? Right? What more do you want in a day? Off the open, you're able to maybe catch the short off the 180, you catch a nice little $2 move, and then you catch a long off of that 180, which gives you another $10 move or $8 move or whatever it is, that right? So looking for some sort of this setup. This is something that I already had in mind. I just didn't know they call it flush before the rush. But I'm also looking for a short through 180. I'm looking for a long back through 180. I'm looking for a long on 180 if 180 is holding. There's so many plays here off of this 180 tomorrow on Tesla, and it's amazing that he's actually talking about Tesla 7 months ago. It's pretty amazing.
It was too quick. How would I get in? What happened? Oh my God. It's just, there's nothing I could do. Everything happened so quickly. So what I did was I grabbed a 15-second chart and kind of drilled down for you. And so I can explain to you how I think about it and how other experienced traders.
Wait, did I say 208? I meant 198, 180, 190, 180, 189, 188. Sorry. Well, not 190s, not 200s. I just realized what I said. I screwed up all my numbers because I kept seeing 200s on the side. I meant, you guys know what I meant. 180, 190, looking for a range in there back through 180. So you ignore any time I said 200. It's because the scale said 200 on these guys' charts, so that kept messing with my head.
Look at this as well, because we all trade it a little bit differently. So for myself, what I'm looking to do is, number one, before the market even opens, I'm putting in orders. I'm putting in orders to take off some of the puts that I have, right on the open. I'm estimating based on where it closed the prior day. If it opens around 250,
15 seconds.
What can I possibly get for the puts that I own that expire this week, 2 weeks out, etc. And I'm putting in offers where hopefully right on the open I'll get taken, or maybe even get a better print from where I'm offering it out because it opens even higher than the options market opens a little bit higher. The thing that I'm doing with stock is I'm either putting in a script. I have a script for this scenario where it's just going to buy the flush on the open at 3 different price points and have stops based on the ATR, and then have profit targets based on the ATR. But since it was my primary focus, I was just manually looking at it as well. And I have action points for you. So action point number 1 is where I think the stops are going to get triggered and perhaps put in the low for the day.
So that's action point number 1, 180. His is 250, ours is 180.
I'm not going to buy it at 250 because my thought process is it's going to flush below 250 and perhaps even challenge that low from last week, the 248. So maybe I'll bid for a little bit in front of 249. I'll get a little bit more aggressive in front of 248 because that's the spot where it bounced from last week. And that's what I did. I bid for a little bit here. I got a little bit bigger here. And then action point number 2 is where most traders, I feel like, some traders will definitely do what I do here, but most traders want to actually see it hold that low from last week, and they want to see people start buying it, and then getting a little bit more aggressive and get it back above that 250, that psychological level. So that's action point number 2. Boom, right back above 250. Again, these are 15-second bars. So this was the first 15 seconds where it bottomed at 48. That second 15-second bar, which, by the way, I was able to get some stock, once it bottomed there and closed up here, I was able to throw in a bid. I think it was like at a quarter or something like that, or 30 cents. It got hit here, and then it kind of like, it failed at 250 initially on that second bar. And then the next 15-second bar is when it went up to like, I think around 251 or so. When that happens, you can throw it, you can either pay for it above 251, or you can throw in a bid at 250.50, 250 and a quarter with a stop below, 249.50. Or if you want to give it all the way to below the low on the open in this bull market, you could do that because there's a better chance that it'll have a bigger move to the upside. In a bear market, I'd probably keep it a little bit tighter. And then action point 3.
We got to remember though, this week is FOMC week, so the markets could basically do
really actually
zilch
this thing. It's
going into earnings and FOMC.
I can
very important.
Once you see
very important week on the market.
They're selling it at 254. They're buying it at 252. And two things that I'm gathering at this point during this like 5-minute period, which is, if this thing gets above 254, this thing might actually fill the gap at 250, 258 to 260. And if it fails, the buyer fails here at 252. My first thought is maybe it'll retest 250 again and put in a higher low. At this point, I'm not thinking, just because of the market we're in, I'm not thinking it's going to roll over 248 and go down to 245 or something like that. More common in a bear market to see that. Certainly it was a possibility, but I would give it a lower probability because of the market conditions right now. But this is a spot, once you see them buying here at 52 and it comes up. And by the way, I should also say, some people, even when they see people selling here at 54, will short it. Like that's not me. I'm thinking, it's got to go at least another $2 to $3. Like this area here, where it got to around 945. Like that's about an $8 bounce. It's it's almost an ATR. Maybe that'll fail and it'll come back and do a retest at 254. I don't actually remember what it did yesterday. Maybe it did that or not. But this gives you an idea of the most aggressive way to do it is bid right into the flush on the open. The little bit more conservative way is once it gets back above 250, buy it right there when you have some momentum to the upside. Maybe even sell it. As soon as the momentum pulls, stops here below 254 and it starts to pull in, and wait for it to have some sort of consolidation. Again, in the first 15 minutes, you really only need it to consolidate for 2-3 minutes, because time frames are very compressed. You have to make decisions very, very quickly. So the trade is the flush before the rush. The setup is basically something that's pulled back very quickly over a 2-day period.
Pretty clean
one
setup.
Day of selling and then a gap down. Sometimes maybe you'll even have a second day of selling and then a gap down. What you want to have.
Pretty sure you could see this on a bunch of stocks coming up this week.
Our expectation
so it was good watching this one.
The market makers, the programs, they'll try to create a flush on the open, stop at everybody who has got stops, put in a low right there. You'll be able to trade against that low. And that's really basically the trade. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.
So you're an active trader.
Yes, I am.
Not doing as well as you want.
I'm not
doing as well as you deserve.
Yeah, you're
you
right.
You just can't figure out why. You can't become profitable.
How can
no matter
I?
How hard you try. Well, let me show you why.
Show me.
This is your competition.
Who?
The traders in this room.
Where?
This room right here is
that
full
guy?
of elite traders.
Nah.
Some of whom are making 7 and even
Nah.
8 figures a year. In fact, our
Oh, that's
top guys
Lance.
have made
Yeah.
nearly 20
No, that's
million
not
each
Lance.
in
Nah.
net trading profits.
You, I know you're better.
Let's head to my office so I can share more.
Let's go.
So you're probably used to seeing videos of lavish trader lifestyles,
Fake.
trading gurus, trading off of a laptop
Fake.
for an hour a day, heck, maybe even 15 minutes a day, and then them relaxing on some secluded beach for the rest of the day.
Fake.
Well, all I can tell you is that our traders train
I knew it.
like pro.
Okay, anyways, I've seen all this outros enough times. I'm just kind of having fun with it. You guys get the idea. That setup over there is kind of very valuable, honestly, because we could see that, although he talked about Tesla 7 months ago on this bull rally up here. We're talking about it today. Somewhere around this 180 could come into play. Let's talk about stocks on a bull rally that could set up. AMD, Microsoft, Nvidia, Netflix, Google. I mean, do you want me to keep going? We could just keep going all day. So maybe not perfectly on Tesla tomorrow, but you could find some sort of a setup over here on, hopefully, on some of these other stocks that have been on somewhat of a rally. BTC USD has been reclaimed, or should I say Bitcoin has reclaimed 40,000. So we're looking for Coinbase's earnings reports coming down sometime in February. We're looking at Mara to go reclaim 19. We're looking at Riot to go back towards the north side, reclaim 12, 13, 14 areas. So let's see what happens over here on Bitcoin stocks. Obviously, you still have your GBTC on Amex, who perfectly trades in line with how the Bitcoin moves. You also have BITO and IBTO. IBIT. So BITO and IBIT, both of these that you can take a look at. My favorite is obviously GBTC. I've watched GBTC trade for a long time now. Back when it used to be in pink sheets all the way through. Now it's in the actual Amex markets. Legitimate ETF now, thanks to the whole ETF hype that's taken place. So looking forward to see how the Bitcoin move back above 40K allows GBTC to maybe go back up north side into 40 or whatever. We'll be having some fun with all of these stocks, obviously, ladies and gentlemen. The QQQ, S&P 500, most likely expecting a pretty muted move going into the start of this week. Nothing really too hyped to start off this week except for SoFi. We do have Microsoft, AMD. Let me go confirm. Microsoft, AMD, Google all on Tuesday, all of which are at all-time highs. We have Boeing on Wednesday. We have FOMC on Wednesday. We have Amazon and Apple and Meta on Thursday. So very, very, very important week. Hopefully I've prepped you enough to start off this week. If I haven't, make sure you come back tomorrow because we will continue talking about all fun things that are important starting from tomorrow, 8 o'clock all the way till Thursday. So make sure you come in every single day, Monday to Thursday, 8 o'clock, and we will get you guys up to date and we will get us all prepared for all the fun earnings movers. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, go have yourself a great weekend. I will see you tomorrow in the Discord chats and on Twitter and everything. If you don't know where they are, you can follow the links right down below in the description. All my links are right down there. Also, my links to Patreon, where you can support me and you get my watch list sent out to you first thing in the morning. You can also support me over here on YouTube if you want to. Also, feel free to hit that like and subscribe if you think I deserve it. And have a great day on the market tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. See you then. Until then, ciao. Wait, before I head out, I know I need to do something. My favorite thing over here. Where is it? Please don't copyright strike me. I love you, Rick and Morty. All right, guys. Good night.
You are not like other carbon-based life forms. You put the value of all life above your own.
It's how things should be. It's how they could be.
I could not agree more. The world can be one together, cosmos without hatred, stars like diamonds in your eyes. The ground can be space, 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 with feet marching towards a peaceful sky. All the moon men want things their way, but we make sure they see the sun. Goodbye, moon man. You say goodbye, moon man. Goodbye, moon man. Goodbye, moon man. Oh, goodbye.